Hi guys, Mitch from Japanese Tools Australia here, and today we have Greg with us. Most woodworkers in the West are very familiar with the tri-square, which is normally a metal blade set into a metal or timber body. And you can get a very nice example of these, whether they're Australian made or Japanese made or made anywhere else. But there is a square that has been used by Japanese woodworkers for centuries, and that's the sashigani. Greg, you've been using sashigani on work sites in and around Tokyo for a number of years. Today, could you run through for us what makes them unique and what you can do with them?
Yeah, so this is your standard Japanese carpenter's square, or as you say, a sashigane. It's 50 centimetres by 25 centimetres on the short end. They come in millimetres and, like you can see over here, traditional Japanese measurements. There's also a smaller size, which is 30 centimetres by 15 centimetres. And that's something that you generally wear in your tool belt just for quick measurements on the site. You know, a bit more portable than one like this. But the benefit of the longer arm is that it's more accurate. So when we're marking out large pieces of timber for cutting scarf joints and other complex joinery, we'll generally use one of these. The other unique feature of these is that they're always 15 millimetres wide. And that's a fairly sort of crucial unit of measurement in Japanese carpentry. So a lot of rebates and dados in traditional joinery will always be either 15 or 30 mil wide, and it's very convenient to have the width of the sashigane at that measurement because you can use it as a reference when marking out those particular measurements. Okay, so that's basically it. I guess the sort of fundamental use of these on a piece of wood is to mark out a cutting line. So I think we should demonstrate how to do a cut line and wrap it all the way around a piece of timber. Great. So why don't you grab your sashigane there?
Little guy?
Yep. All right, now always use the long edge against the this reference face of the piece. Right. All right. Some people will sort of instinctually go with the short edge. That's no good because you're losing a lot of accuracy. If you're using the long edge, you're getting a longer piece of the reference edge, and therefore you've got more of a chance of getting something that's truly square to the piece overall. Okay. The next thing is the grip. So you want to hold it so you've got enough room from the edge where you're going to draw the line. So take it back down the long edge there, using your thumb to sort of depress it down a little bit. They're quite flexible. And then these fingers just underneath, and then you'll bring it to the piece and butt it against the reference edge. And then just, as you can see here, I'm just depressing my thumb a little bit, and that's keeping it firm in the area where we're going to draw the line. So have a go at that. Might want to bring your hand just a little bit further forward. That's it. And yeah, just a light touch, but a little bit of pressure, and you want to try and get this as flat onto the surface as possible. That's good. All right, so now we're going to draw the line. Now, grab your pencil. It's good to have a pencil that's been sharpened to a fine point like that, just because when you're posturing yourself to mark the line, you want to have your whole body centered along the line that you're about to draw. And having a finer point on your pencil allows you to line that up better. It's also a bit more accurate having a finer tip on there too, because you want to have the pencil butted into the edge of the sashigane so you get a line as close to the edge of the sashigane as possible. Yep. So have a go at drawing that line. Make sure you keep it consistent all the way through. That's good. All right, so we've got our first line there. Now we want to get this going all the way around the piece of timber. So this will be our reference line. So all other lines will be coming from this. So the first one we're going to do is on this side. Again, you're going to put your sashigane up against the reference face and getting your body in center with the line, looking over it. You want to get the edge right up to the line you've just drawn. Okay, that's good. And then we're going to do the same thing, again using the original reference line, but coming down the other face of the piece. Now ideally, you'd have this on the original reference face, which means you're going to have to bring it around and kind of change your posture a little bit. Okay. Yeah. Of course, this is easy to do if we were on horses and we can walk around the piece, but because we're on a bench, we have to be a little bit more creative. So yeah, do a little test line, see if it's going to connect up.
A bit this way. Hit inside, right against it.
That's looking good. All right. And then the final step is to connect those two lines on the...
So because I can't reference my original line here, does it matter which side I go?
No, it doesn't really matter, but you just want to try and get them connected. And look, depending on the piece of wood, there might be a little bit of deviance because there might be a slight taper depending on how it's been milled, but it's only ever going to be, you know, 1/10 of a millimetre perhaps. So just try and get those two lines to connect.
No pressure.
Yeah. But in this case, I'd go back to the original of having the long edge on the opposite side. That's right.
So if I'm hitting that there, that's going to hit there.
That's pretty good. It's all connected up.
It's one of my better ones.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's great. So this is a fully traditional Japanese carpenter's square or sashigane. As you can see, it's using a unit of measurement that's unlike the centimetres on this one. This is a traditional unit of measurement that originates in China. So it's broken up into what is known as a sun, and within each sun there's 10 bu. So it's a base 10 measurement system, but yeah, just a slightly different length to what we're used to. All of Japanese carpentry traditionally is measured according to this system. All right.
So were you working in this system in Japan?
Generally, yeah, I'd be working in this system, and the units are 30.3 millimetres. So one sun is equal to 30.3. The other thing about this traditional sashigane is that it has I guess you could call it a ridged profile, whereas this more modern version is completely flat. The reason for the ridged profile is traditionally you'd use it with a traditional bamboo, I guess you could call it a quill, but it's called a Sumisashi in Japanese. And this was used for all marking out of timbers traditionally. And even to this day, some carpenters will use one of these. And so with this, you're not going to get the thinnest line. You won't get something as thin as, say, you know, a drafting pen. But you will use it in such a way as you have this sort of tapered edge, which will be butted up to the side of the sashigane, and a line will be drawn down like that. The thing with that is you have this charged with ink. As you can see, this is all sort of like a comb here. And that ink will tend to run a bit, all right? And if you're using a flat ruler like this, the ink will get under the ruler, and then that ruler will smudge the ink, right? But because this has this ridged profile, the edge is always going to be slightly raised from the actual piece, meaning that any additional ink isn't going to be smudged by the ruler. So that's why they have this ridged feature. And yeah, the other unique thing about these is that on the obverse side, we have the same measurements, only squared.
So using the sashigane, not complicated, just needs practice.
Not complicated, yeah, just practice. The more you use it, the more you'll get used to it, and eventually it'll just become an extension of your body.